let's go ahead and get started this morning. Stephen, since you're standing up back there, will you open us in a word of prayer this morning? Galatians chapter 5, back in this book about freedom, this book about living in the liberty where Christ has purchased for us, this book that's the defense of the gospel. It's all about freedom from bondage. It's been called the Magna Carta of Christianity, but it is also scary because freedom is scary. Freedom is also, because I'm not standing still. It's scary. What makes it scary is the question, what will restrain us? What will restrain us if there's no outside rules and laws and pressure pushing down on us? I mean, if we think about it, that really is part of the problem we have today in our country. The problem. What will restrain us? What will keep everyone living in the liberty, all getting along? Because you have a group on this side who, will say they're kind of self-restrained. And then you have this group over here on this side who doesn't seem to show any restraint. And somewhere in the middle, we have police, and they're supposed to help. And now we're disbanding police. And Doug, the whole thing is just frightening. And if we're not careful, in that nervous scariness, you know what we want? We want more rules and more control and more, but that's not freedom, and that's not liberty, and this is real life challenging. Paul gives us his answer to the church in chapter 5, verse 16. He says, "This I say then." You want to know what is the restraint? Here's your restraint. "This I say then, walk in the Spirit." We said that is to live, to move, to act in accordance to the power that is already inside of us. We are the temple of God. He does abide inside of us. And that is, we're supposed to see, we're supposed to make decisions, we're supposed to walk in that faith. Faith in what? That faith, Brother Moyer, is in that He is a good God. That He is a wise God. That He is involved. That He cares. That doing it His way is the answer. If we walk in that faith, in that power, then the verse says, there's restraint. The restraint is we will not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. And we spent some time last week kind of looking at that idea. What is this idea when we talk about flesh? It's more than just body. It's more than just the thing that makes me do the bad thing. The flesh is living in the natural. It's doing what I can do. It's walking in my own power, doing the things I can accomplish. Because the truth is, we can accomplish a lot of things in our own nature. Get up, throw a tantrum. There's going to be a reaction. You can get something done, or go the other way, stick your thumb in your mouth. Someone's going to come and baby you. Things will happen. It's living in the realm of what I can see, do, touch, possess. I can do it. Now that gets a little bit tougher when you take it to this idea and say, Can I do good things in the flesh? Do you know it's possible to minister in the flesh? Yeah. It's possible to parent in the flesh. When we get here in a few minutes and start reading the works of the flesh, it's pretty scary. This is more than just, yeah. The flesh brings destruction, Doug. It hurts, it harms, it puts us in that cycle of sin, which in James 1 ends every single time in death. We can parent. We can teach in the flesh. I can even say good things in the flesh. We can sing. We can even witness.
That's right.
I remember, Brother Moy, I can't remember who it was from. It was either out of Oklahoma City or it was from Bob Jones. I don't remember. But I was listening through this soul-winning seminar. And in it, one of the illustrations dealing with this same kind of idea was a guy told about how when he was a young preacher boy, he was volunteering. Actually, it's a Bob Jones seminar, and the guy was volunteering at Oklahoma City Baptist Church, Windsor Hills. So it's both of them. Sometimes it works. And he was talking about how he and another young preacher boy who was volunteering their time, who were learning, working on staff through the summer, they went out soul winning, knocked on doors. This guy started the conversation. It ended up, he closed the conversation. It was a wonderful thing. The Holy Spirit was there, and it applied the word, and it softened the heart, and an adult man got saved in this household. And then they walked outside, and person number one was grouchy. Then they got in the car, and he said, "You stole my convert." And he said, when he was telling the story, I like this, by the way. He said, so my first reaction was, well, I didn't know it was your convert. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it. And then I went to, I didn't know you died on the tree. I didn't know you rose again. I didn't know you convicted. Yeah. But then he said, I was so glad I didn't say it. I still thought it was still just as bad because I responded to his in the flesh with my in the flesh. All I wanted to do was defend and tear down, and I had no sympathy, no understanding for where he was or his growth or Christ pointing it out. There was no opportunity for me to witness or to help or to train or to teach him anymore. Because all I wanted to do was, sure doesn't sound like love your enemies. Do good to them who despitefully, in the flesh. I'm just saying, it's easy. It's easy to get in the flesh.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking for a teacher. I get tired of picking on you. Do you know it is possible to sacrifice and work in a Christian school and do it in the flesh?
Totally.
It might even be easier. So this gets a little confusing, right? Miss Martin, I don't want to live in the flesh, and I want to do good things, but if I can do good things in the flesh, and how do I know? How do I work this thing out? Why is this so hard to do? Well, verse 17. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. Wonder why this is so hard? Because it's a war. It's a fight. It's constantly going on. You know who's writing this? Same person who writes Romans 7 says it's a war. The things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I do. It goes on to verse 18. Let me give you some encouragement. Miss Martin, let me give you some encouragement because I gave you that hard one. You want to encourage me? But if you walk in the flesh, you don't need the law. I mean, the Spirit. Shoot, you were supposed to correct me. Yes. You were not paying attention to me. You would have corrected me. I know you. She would have corrected me, right? Why will we need the law? Because we have the Trinity. Inside of us, the Spirit lives. We don't need a law. might be intentional. I'll do is say your name. You're used to it. Our problem is we wake up every morning, and how many times do we not pray? How many times do we not read? How often are we not dependent? Are we not surrendered? Oh, we're dependent on what I can do and what I can accomplish and what I can get done on how I see life. So, this is where we left off last week. Take me 2 pages to get back to where we left off. Paul has to take us through all of that. But it's still a little hard. It's still a little confusing. So, Ms. Pat, let me make it easier for you. I understand people learn and see from illustrations. Paul's about to give us an illustration. If you want to know how you can tell whether you're in the flesh or not, well, we're back up to verse 19. Verse 18, but if you're led of the Spirit, you're not under the law. Verse 19, but here we are. You want to understand how you can tell, how you can know, how you can see? I don't know if how you can see is good English. The works of the flesh are manifest. Very important, because we try to mix this up. And we do, we try to, the works of the flesh are manifest. You know what that means? That doesn't mean they just like happen. That means they're obvious. So when we get to, well, I just wasn't sure. No, here we go. You and I go out to lunch today. That'll be kind of nice. And I'll let you do all the talking because I'll be out of breath. It's going to be a quiet lunch. We'll let Miss Debbie do all the talking. You and I go out to lunch. And somewhere on the way, let's see, I had to have you in my car. Did you drive your car? All right, well, you're going to have to let me drive your car. Your car? What car is it? Oh, I'll drive the truck. Okay, you let me drive the truck. You're showing off you want to let me drive the truck. Thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate that. So you let me drive the truck. And somewhere in driving this truck, Brother Morton cuts me off. And then he drops something on the floor, which I don't know, but he slams on the brakes. And I get a little grouchy. Maybe I yell, scream. By the way, I really don't have road rage very much. That's an easy illustration. I stay away from the things I really struggle with.
But I can't hear you anyhow.
So, but guess who can? And it's obvious. It's obvious. So, like 2 weeks in a row, I keep saying, you know why those underneath us struggle so much? Part of it is us. Because when we live in the flesh and try to claim being Spirit-led, it's obvious to those around us that we're in the flesh.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I told you she'd correct me.
Sorry, I want to hear it.
The works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. He's about to roll out this list. And I'm going to tell you up front, I don't like the way this list is laid out. I wish it was in a different order. But it's not. And that shows an importance in the way it is laid out. When you go through this list, it's usually broken up into 3 or 4 different groups. When I was younger, I always broke it up into 4. 4 sounds better, and it was just easier to go through. But now that I'm older, and when I get a little bit older, Stephen, I'll probably change it again. It doesn't matter. I'm breaking this up. It's my groups. But now I break it up into 3. And even that 3, I don't agree with those who break it up into their 3. Can you believe that? But it goes through, and the very first group, without a doubt, is about sensual sins. The works of the flesh are manifest, are obvious, which are these. Remember telling you, okay, this is written to the church, not the world. That's why I don't like that it's written this way. I wish this wasn't so. I wish this wasn't such a struggle. I wish it didn't have to be written this way, but God knows what we need, and that's why it's written this way. The struggle starts out this way. Now, the works of the flesh are these. Adultery. We know what this is. So I have to go through all this list pretty fast, so we're not going to spend much time on any of them. I really don't like to spend that much time on sin. But you wait till we get to the fruit of the Spirit. I spend lots of time there. I spend lots of time glorifying what he does in us, not what we can do to ourselves. Adultery, we know what this is. It's the act of. Let's not go there. Okay, I know that's a problem for other people, but it's a problem for any living in the flesh. You know what won't? Living in the Spirit. It is not a problem, living in the Spirit. So Hank, living in the Spirit, you can say, I never. But walking in the flesh, the works of the flesh are. And I mean, if you really want to give it some thought, all right, why is the book of Hosea written? Because the Jews lived in spiritual adultery. Doug, if we'll say, well, yes, that's a struggle, we struggle. In fact, later he's going to talk about idolatry, the picture of replacing living in adultery, spiritual adultery. He's going to go there. So we'll tend to like, okay, that is a problem, we struggle with that daily, we need to deal with it daily. But then we want to get, no, can't happen. Well, you know why that's a problem? Because it's the work of the flesh. You know why this can be a problem? Because it's the work of the flesh. If we're walking in the flesh, it can be a problem. And by the way, God treats us better than any mate. I know you love your wife. Say amen. You think she's the greatest human being on earth, the most beautiful, the most kind, the most forgiving? I know you do. She's far from God. See, there's a difference between her and God. God knows everything, even the thoughts and intents. And he still forgives, and he still loves, and he still chooses. And if we can cheat on him, okay, why do you do this? You do this just so we say, understand the works of the flesh. If we walk in the flesh, it is scary, it is destructive, it is dangerous. We cannot control and limit our own flesh. Fornication. Fornication comes from the word porneia, where we get pornography. It talks about sexual sin. It is immorality, it is the action of. It is the whole great category. Adultery, fornication, uncleanliness. Uncleanliness deals with impurity. It's not the activity anymore. Now it's the thought. It's the obsession. It's the continuing in the lust. And you know, we've moved around a lot. I have been in a lot of churches. I was in the military. We need to move a lot. But Tony, I've been in some churches where almost every conversation somehow ties to sensuality. It is as if it's the thought in every conversation of the leadership. This is just my opinion. Here's my opinion. Stephen, you want my opinion? You don't have to listen to it. Because this is opinion. Opinion, you need to warn those boys. You need to warn those boys. You need to warn those boys. That's what Proverbs is about. You need to warn those boys. But if you don't give them some other way to live, if they believe that sensuality is life, I don't care how many times you warn them, you will not stop them from chasing life. Understand? Yeah. And then lasciviousness. Lasciviousness is without restraint. It is getting to the place of perversion. Everything is open. Why is this so tough? I got a whole list. Why is this so tough? Well, I'm going to give you 3 quick thoughts. Because it's not what we're studying. First, this is tough because God created this. It's a good thing, right? God created a good thing. And everything God creates, you know what Satan tries to do? Twist. Beginning of this book, what do we see? They twist. False teachers, they twist. And it's so easy to fall prone to the twist. Second, it's physical. It's tangible. It's something I can do. I can see it. I can touch it. I can make it happen. I can accomplish. It can be completed in the flesh. And third, it is everywhere. We sell cars. We sell jeans. We probably sell toothpaste and toilet paper. It is part of everything. It's movies and shows. Go to work, it's at work. entire letter. Because remember, this is a letter. So how are we going to defeat this temptation? Ready? Make a rule. Make it ready. No hanky-panky. Why don't I do that? I don't want to sound like I'm mocking, because I'm not. That's a good rule. Goes back to the moral law of God. It's a good rule. But we've got like 3,700 years of history. Guess what? Rule didn't make it accomplished. And a rule won't make it accomplished now. Rules will not restrain. Did David not know the rules? David, writer of Psalms, did he not know the rules? Okay, so what? So what are we going to do if we don't make a rule? Okay, well then we'll use guilt. Or we'll use shame, or we'll use fear. Welcome to why we have, one of the reasons we have such dysfunctional homes. No. The answer is to die to the flesh each day. Colossians. Daily. Mortify. It means daily. You don't just, I'm going to control it, I'm going to control it, I'm going to control it. No, daily. You turn from one and you depend on the other. This must be part of your life. Prayer, study, dependence. We pray without ceasing. Because if you start the day that way in dependence, you know what's easier? As you go through the day and problems come up, to continue to depend. If you don't start the day in dependence, as problems come up, guess who I depend on? We must learn to live in accordance to what is in us. Daily seeking and depending on Him. That's walking in the Spirit. If life is Christ, then what temptation is anything else? This doesn't bring this. No more temptation. It doesn't taste good anymore. But if life is to possess him or her, or that's life, we will chase it with everything inside of us. Next application he goes into kind of leaves that sensual temptation, and he goes into religious life. And starts with idolatry. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about idolatry in the past couple months, so we're not going to spend a lot of time now. But John Calvin, who I don't quote very often, but God did use him to do an awful lot, said this: man is from his mother's womb an expert at creating idols. And I think that's very true. Idolatry, the act of replacing God with anything. This is my definition, I don't know. So I wrote it this way, Doug, to start with. The act of replacing God with anything I have created for myself. But that's kind of braggadocious. You know what I can create? Zippo, nothing. So I use it like an erector set. I can take things he's created and I can erect it for myself. Here's like the Christian idols. Sports. You know, sports can be life for a lot of people. List living. Security. Things. Materialism. I try to make it funny around the house, and I say, knickknacks. Jade, you can't have all the knickknacks. Katie, knickknacks do not bring life. This is what they do. Pleasure seeking. Here, let me give you another one. Katie, family. It's not life. No, God is life. And he will bless your family as long as he is preeminent. Preeminent does not mean top of the list. It means the only thing on the list. witchcraft. But this is where I start to argue with people. I don't do them on the head. So a lot of people, they cut off the religion part right here. Idolatry, witchcraft. We're going to see, because I got just enough time. When you go through the rest of the list, I think that belongs inside religion too, because these are the things that are inside the church if we're not careful. When we start living inside the flesh, this list of things we're about to see after witchcraft, that's what's inside and causes problems in the church. Doug, I guarantee you, we're going to read here in a few minutes. Those are going to be the things you struggle with as the administrator of the school. Principal of the school. Is there a difference in the title? Administrator / principal. Do you have both titles? Witchcraft. Witchcraft comes from the word pharmakeia. Okay, it's where we get the word pharmacy. And I do believe this is true. Mike, I believe this is true. I believe this ties to the picture of drug use. Well, why is it written this way as witchcraft? Well, think about it this way. Well, I'm going to do it this way. Think about it this way. But more, one of the many things we have in common, besides we cry all the time, and we're both trying to grow this, is we like Westerns. And if you watch too many Westerns, you don't have to watch too many of them before you get to the point where there's somebody out there trying to experience the wild Indian West, and so they're smoking peyote to experience and find out their Indian name or something like that, right? It happens all the time. Okay? And that's what they would do to open themselves up to the spirits. They would participate in drug use. Or you can watch some of the movies where they'll go into Africa and guess what? Guess what the challenge? Alan Quartermain, guess what he had to fight with? He had to fight with the witch doctor. And the witch doctor is trying to gain the power by speaking to the spirits. And what do? They mix this potion and they drink this and they taste that and they grind this. You see, this is talking about that group who in seeking spiritualism would take place and take part of drug use. To put themselves in an altered state. First I'm going to tell you, that's a scary thing right there. Because they've done this for thousands of years. Why are we so arrogant to say, well, that doesn't work? It just might open you up to an altered state. It's a little scary. But it's more, let's bring it up to date. Doug, we're in Florida, which so far, well, we could just as easily, by the grace of God, be in Colorado. You know what would happen if you were in Colorado? All those teens would be saying, it's legal, why shouldn't I? Because why do you want to put your mind in an altered state? Well, it doesn't. Then what good is it? If it's not accomplishing that, why are you spending your hard-earned money to do it? Because that's what it does. And so that is a work of the flesh. Then it goes on. And I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to cut it right there. Especially with this next word. But I don't think it should cut right there. I think we're still dealing with inside religion. Because you know what inside religion is? Hatred. Hatred for who? Everyone and anyone who doesn't see life exactly like me.
That's right.
You know what? Well, love your enemies. Okay, now explain your hate. Christ died and loved those who beat him. Explain your hate. Hatred. It's hostility. Or burning. Why do they have to come here? Can't they just disappear? Variance, contention, debate, strife. Consistently at odds with others. Anybody know anybody like that? No matter what, it's Thanksgiving, you'll have family members, and this is what we say, that person always brings the drama. Well, I'm going to tell you what that is. That's variance. That's contention. That's always in debate. That's always in strife. Constantly at odds with others. But I think you got your Bible right there. You just have to say yes. Philippians 1, verse 15. When we talk about strife, this is, again, we're not careful, this is going to be those people, or that person. Who's that bad person? That bad person. Jade is that bad person in the church. This is her. Well, it might be. You figure it out. I'm telling you, these are the works of the flesh that we can live in any day. And in Philippians chapter 1, verse 15.
Some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife.
Wait, some preach Christ. That's a good thing, right? You preach Christ. My goodness, isn't that a good thing? They're not preaching something false. They're preaching Christ. But they're doing that with envy. Envy is not jealousy. Envy is way worse and way uglier. And strife. I'm doing that in the power to where all I want to do is content and debate and constantly at odds and smack and hurt and cut. Some preach that way. Variance. Emulation. That may not be jealousy, but you know what emulation is? It's jealousy. It is I want for me. Let's do that. Does anybody not like banana bread? Somebody not like banana bread? There you go. First, Brother Wayne, you have to be weird not to like banana bread. But Miss Myrna was so nice. She made me some banana bread. Okay. Envy would do it this way. Okay, if you envied me, perfect fit. She made me some banana bread. Well, you don't even like banana bread. Do you want it? Of course not. But you don't like the fact that she made it for me and not you. So you just don't want me to have it. Right. It's just not wanting others. How many times envy is in the list written down to the church? Envy, work of the flesh. But this is jealousy. Jealousy is not envy. See that we had up there, that was envy. This is jealousy. Jealousy is that you finally got right with God, and now you want my banana bread. And so you'll do anything to get it, including sending someone to distract me so you can take it.
Amen.
I know we have that in common too, brother. Your daughter makes banana bread and she brags about it and then she says, "But my dad ate it all." Get out of the house.
Comes to food, we got it in common.
Miss Myrna, you see why I think these things kind of belong in this religion group too. I've been in church long enough to know these exist. In fact, these are the things that keep us from having unity and power. Coming together like we're supposed to, being of one mind, a humble one. And then it gets to this one: idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, explosion, fits of anger, hostility, enraged temper. So when you can get things done in your home with wrath, I'm telling you, you can. You will get a response. But it will not be life. Because this is what happens. This is going to be ugly, so I'll make it me. I can get things done in my home with wrath. Those boys may think they can take me, but they still think I'm meaner and uglier and nastier. This is a really good thing, right? That's how our Father wants to be viewed. So if I pop off with some explosive anger, whatever they have done, sorry, Jake, you lose right now. He's going to drop and do it because of wrath. Well, that's going to make him fearful. fearful. That's going to make me unapproachable. Dr. Boyd, you know what I want? I want my son to come and talk to me about any issue. I want him to feel open. I want him to trust that I'll heal and I'll understand and I'll forgive and I'll help and I'll give good advice and I'll place him more important. But you know what that wrath does? It costs me that exact thing. I could even use wrath on Miss Angie. Go ahead. How could you do that? You don't know the other side of her. It's better than the one you know. I can make her cry. But the native does not make her want to come and hug me. It does not make us live closer together. It makes her room safe. And my room, the jail, that I'm locked in. Just so you know, Jay, that's not why we live in different rooms. She likes different shows than me. She has no sports, I have no homework. 2 TVs make a happy life. This jumps into the next column because I do think things kind of change. When we get to idolatry, witchcraft, it's kind of at the end of the verses. Witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies. We're going to try to run through those real quick. But verse 21, envying, which we talked about a little bit, murderers. So, you know, I know I'm safe there. We'll be careful because hatred and wrath can justify an awful lot. And sometimes, all right, maybe we're not murdering, but I can still just as easily kill a life. And I can watch it exist for a time, not be lived. Anyway, strife. Strife has this picture. You're going to say, this is in the church. Strife has this picture of a politician who's manipulating for his own promotion. You know, a person who's running around all the time, getting competing groups, trying to win this group over that group so they can accomplish this agenda over that agenda. So busy trying to accomplish agenda, you can't convince me that they're spending time here and on their knees. Because this is not agenda-driven. This is people. Ends up in seditions, standing apart, maintaining divisions. Mike, you and I get along as long as you stay on that side and I stay on this side. Got it? Let's agree to agree. And we can disagree like that for years. Oh yeah. Pastor comes up here sometimes and has to feel like, I got 3 different churches, this one, and this one. How are we going to make them all happy? How are we going to get them all along? How do I... Seditions. How does this go with the unity of the believer? How do we ever justify that? If there's unity, there's always going to be some dying to my own rights. There is. I don't have to. I guess. Stay in the I and flesh, and you don't have to. Sedition, strife, yep. Wrath, yep, that'll be you. You don't have to. I don't mean to just compromise everything. There are a lot of things I will not endorse. There are. Stephen, would you believe I'm opinionated? But there are very few things I would break fellowship over. See, I understand God's growing us all up at different rates and at different times, and He's dealing with all of us. You know, He's asked me to do love the ones that He loved, and I'm thankful that there's some greater than me that are loving me and helping me and forgiving me. And what exactly am I entitled to? Miss Patsy, daily changes everything. Daily changes everything. Might just have us walking in the Spirit. Heresy. Heresy literally means to choose. I'd say the Greek word, but no. Mike does way better. But that's what it means. In this case, it means to choose deception. There's lots of deception we can choose, Miss Tiffany. We can choose, does God love us or not? Is this good for me or not? Did they mean harm? We can choose lots of things. It'll affect our response. It'll affect our continuance. It affects our thoughts, our actions. Oh, I know I looked at that a minute ago. It was 10:09. Now I'm cutting into my own time. We'll read them. Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies. No, I think it breaks there and it leaves this picture of things that happen inside of religion. And I think here it goes to interpersonal relationships. Envying, murderers, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in times past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. I'll just close this way. The works of the flesh are obvious. What is life? If Christ is life for you, these things are not what marks the attitude or the environment of your life. But Brother Tony, if these things are constantly in your life, then Christ right now is not life for you. You are living and walking in accordance to your flesh. Brother Hank, you close us in a word of prayer this morning.
Dear Heavenly Father, we love you, Lord. We thank you for Jeremy and the words he spoke today, Lord. I thank you for your words, Lord. I just pray that you would just help us to take these words and apply them to our hearts and apply them to our lives, Lord. Help us to be more walking in the Spirit, Lord, being in the Word, praying daily, Lord. Just help us to be more like you, Lord. We don't want to be like the world. And I pray that you would just give us the wisdom and the guidance, Lord, that we need, Lord, to continue to serve you in ways that we never have before.